Joseph Smith, founder of Mormonism. The history of Mormonism begins with a young man by the name of Joseph Smith, Jr. He was born on December the 23rd, 1805 in Vermont. Joseph was the fourth child of Lucy and Joseph Smith, Sr. Joseph's mother was a highly superstitious woman, and Joseph was involved in some form of divination in his early life, using a seer stone to find treasure. In time, this got him into some legal troubles with the state, as he held himself out as a treasure hunter who had such mystical powers that he could find treasures that were buried through this seer stone. And thus he got individuals to invest in his enterprise without ever having any good results. According to Joseph Smith, he claims that as he had attended various churches in his earlier life, that he became disturbed by all the different denominations claiming to be Christian. This is at a very young age. He wondered which was the true church, and which church should he join. In the spring of 1820, at the age of 14 years old, Joseph went into a grove of trees near his home in Palmyra, New York, and prayed to learn which church it was that he ought to become a member of. In answer to his prayer, he says that God the Father and his Son, Jesus Christ, appeared to him, just like those heavenly beings that had appeared to the prophets in biblical times. Joseph learned that the church that it was originally organized by Jesus Christ no longer existed on the earth. The church was gone. Thus, none of the churches that he was considering were to be considered true churches. He says that God the Father and his Son Jesus Christ told him that he was the chosen one, who was to restore the church of Jesus Christ to the earth. The implications of that is very great, because it means that the Mormon church views itself as the only true church of Jesus Christ. On September 21st in 1823, when Joseph was just 17 years old, an angel called Moroni, the son of Mormon, the leader of the people of the Nephites, who had lived in the Americas, appeared to him. Moroni told him that he had been chosen to translate the Book of Mormon, which was compiled by Moroni's father around the 4th century. The book was written on golden plates that were hidden near where Joseph lived in Palmyra, New York. Smith said that on September 22nd in 1827, he received the plates, and the angel Moroni instructed him to begin the translating process. The translation was finally published in 1830 as the Book of Mormon. Smith further claimed that during this translation process, John the Baptist appeared to him and ordained him to accomplish the divine work of restoring, that's a key word, restoring the true church by preaching the true gospel. Well, if the true church had been gone, that was originally organized, then the true gospel has been gone. But now that Joseph has translated and was to continue in the work of establishing the true church, then he had to preach the true gospel, which had been lost along with the church. Joseph was allegedly baptized by John the Baptist, in which the authority of the keys of the kingdom were given to him. The reorganized church is therefore that only true church, because only the Mormons have the keys of the kingdom. It is the church with the only one true baptism, and with the only true form of that baptism being by immersion. And that is important in Mormon teaching. This begins, thus, the restoration of the Melchizedek and Levitical priesthood. This is also the reestablishment of the order of the 12 apostles in the Mormon Church. Smith also maintained that the true Word of God is found in the Book of Mormon, because the Bible of the Old and New Testament has been corrupted by men. The Book of Mormon claims to be the uncorrupted, pure word from God, as opposed to the Bible, in which many plain and precious truths, as they say, have been left out. The Book of Mormon is an account of a people who came from the Middle East to America. It reminds me of, actually, British Israelism. The book covers the period of about 1,000 years, approximately from 600 BC to 400 AD. In the Book of Mormon, there is a story of the Jaredites, people from the Tower of Babel who came to Central America but perished because of their own immorality. The book also tells of some Jews who fled persecution in Jerusalem and came to America, led by a man called Nephi. The Jews divided eventually into two groups, known as the Nephites and the Lamanites, who fought each other. The Nephites were eventually defeated in 428 AD, and the Lamanites are what we now know as the American Indians. The Book of Mormon is the account of the Neophyte leader, Mormon, concerning his people, their culture, civilization, and the appearance of Jesus in America. After the publication of the Book of Mormon, Mormonism began to grow. Later, their teaching became so deviant from Christianity because of the plurality of their gods. Polygamy, it said Joseph Smith had 27 wives, that they soon found themselves persecuted, and they were forced to move from New York to Ohio, then eventually to Missouri, and finally to Nauvoo, Illinois. After being accused of breaking some laws in Nauvoo, that is, they were accused of destroying a printing press that was publishing harmful information about Mormonism, actually by a former Mormon. Joseph and his brother Hiram were arrested and put in jail. A mob was formed in town that eventually broke into the jail and shot and killed both Joseph and Hiram. After the shooting, the church divided into two groups. One group was led by Joseph Smith's family. It was his son that Joseph had personally chosen to become the next leader of the church. And that group, which was by far probably a smaller group, went back to Independence, Missouri. They became known as the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints claimed to be the true church from Joseph Smith. And they laid claim to the legal succession of the church presidency, which was bestowed upon Joseph's son, and they had title to all the properties. This reorganized church has since renamed themselves as the Community of Christ. They are Trinitarian, reject that God is a man, or that man can even become a God. They reject the theology that says God the Father came down and had sex with Mary. This denomination claims to hold to the early teachings of Joseph Smith, which they argue include various orthodox doctrine. The division, though, was really over leadership. It was Smith's son and family versus Brigham Young. And they claimed that it was Young who brought the major heresies into the church. But the Mormons, the other group, claimed that it was Joseph Smith, not Brigham Young, who gave them the newer doctrines that they were following. The Mormons believe that they are, or these are, the new truths that have been restored to the Church of Jesus Christ. We'll look at them in their doctrinal principles, based on the restoration by prophecy. And remember, this is a restored church by prophecy, of which Joseph Smith had many, many prophecies. And thus, it was brought into the church by the great prophet himself, Joseph Smith. The group being led by Brigham Young said that they would depart And they eventually moved on to Utah, where in 1847 they ended up in Salt Lake and founded what is now the city of Salt Lake, or Salt Lake City. Brigham Young was said to have 25 wives and accumulated much wealth. Their theology was Smith's later teachings that introduced many of these great errors that was upheld and taught and continue today as the basis of Mormon theology. The church was known originally as the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. After this division, this group became more identified as Mormons, while the reorganized church never did. It is this group that is best known today in America. It is this group of which Mitt Romney is a member. We shall take up the various doctrines of the Mormon Church in our next presentation.